the language and beliefs of white supremacists. The Cape Times leads on the ongoing row between 5 Democratic Alliance councillors and the party's leader, Mmusi Maimane. The paper reports that Mr. Maimane is prepared to meet the former DA councillors who are demanding an apology after he allegedly made a defamatory statement against them. The huge mausoleum outside Madrid, where the dictator has lain since death in 1975. Coming up on Sky News this morning, all the sport, including find out if Manchester City had enough to see off Spurs and return to the top of the Premier League.
Every day we embark upon a quest to take a few simple ingredients and transform them into something extraordinary. Our latest beer is brewed with Irish barley, double hopped and a refreshing hue of gold. Hop House 13, more hops, more taste, more character.
A cavalcade of local chefs, wizards of the world. I hit to practice alchemy with fish and chicken stock.
Download the Just Eat app or order online now.
I used to book my hotel room on those travel sites, but there was always a catch. Like somehow you'd wind up getting less. But now I book at Hilton.com and I get all these great perks. I got to select my room from the floor plan. You know I'm good at picking stuff. Free Wi-Fi, laptop by the pool's a bold choice, and the price match guarantee.
How do you know all this? Are you like some magical Hilton fairy?
It's just here on the Hilton app. Just available to the public, so. Book at Hilton.com and get the Hilton price match guarantee. If you find a lower rate, we match it and give you 25% off that stay.
Long hair girls, new Elvive Dream Lengths, enriched with vegetable protein and castor oil. The formula helps strengthen lengths and reduces the appearance of split ends. And now, discover new heat mask. Reduce the look of surface damage with our first self-heating treatment. New Dream Lengths by L'Oreal Elvive. Long hair, do care.
Stay in your comfort zone for even longer and get up to a 10-year guarantee on a smart Valent boiler. Find your local installer at valent.co.uk.
Big news. You can get Netflix on Sky Q. So it's never been easier to go from a Netflix show to a Sky show.
I'm not trying this at all.
Oh, it's easy. You can switch to a Netflix show. That's massive. Time to go to a Sky show. You're all right here, side by side. Man, it's a whole new world. The best TV all in one place. Netflix on Sky Q.
Sadness made way for applause as Leicester City's players stood shoulder to shoulder with fans at a remembrance service for the man they called the boss. Wichai Siwatanaprata died when his helicopter crashed outside the football club's ground on Saturday night. He was one of 5 people on board. The billionaire's wife and son joined his team in paying tribute, as Sky's Becky Johnson reports.
He was the head of this footballing family. His loss has left them heartbroken. Shock, sadness, disbelief, and then this. For a man who dared this club to dream and took them all the way to the top, the players, led by the chairman's son, surrounded by a growing sea of tributes. Inside the stadium, his widow and son sharing their grief with a team who'd taken him to their hearts.
They weren't just his employees, they were his friends. They were his friends, you know, and that's what we built this football club on. You know, the foundation. It sounds as though I'm going over the top, but, you know, it's just, that is exactly what it was.
His son, the club's vice-chairman, known to fans as Top, nearly always travelled with his father, but this week he wasn't at the game, or on board the helicopter, seen here arriving on the night to collect the passengers who'd be on its final fatal trip. Investigators still examining the wreckage have appealed for video of the crash. This CCTV appears to show the helicopter taking off normally, before something goes catastrophically wrong and it plummets to the ground. Also killed were two of the chairman's staff, along with the pilot Eric Swaffer and his partner and co-pilot Isabella Lekovic.
Isabella? Hello?
The pair had years of flying experience. They filmed this in 2016. He's been praised for bringing the helicopter down away from the busy stadium. His heroism, no surprise to friends.
The moment I heard that, or the moment someone mentioned that, I said to myself, that's Eric, because that's exactly what he would do. He would put safety first always, even if it, endangered his own life. And the moment I heard about it, I said, yeah, that's exactly what Eric would do. He would try to save a whole bunch of other people just to, get the aircraft safely on the ground.
At the stadium, the tributes keep coming. The Thai football team rescued from a cave earlier this year, among those here to pay their respects. A book of condolence will open in the morning. What happened here has shocked this city. There is a sense that people just need to be here together to make sense of it all. Gone but never forgotten, this man will always be a Leicester City legend. Becky Johnson, Sky News, Leicester.
Here's Roger now with the sport.
This programme is brought to you by Vitality Health and Life Insurance. Getting active brings its own rewards.
I hate it when they get out and they shake all over you.
Hello again. Manchester City have gone back to the top of the Premier League after beating Tottenham 1-0 at Wembley. The players held a minute's silence to pay their respects to the 5 killed in the Leicester helicopter crash and to mark Remembrance Sunday. The state of the pitch was heavily criticised after an NFL game took place there on Sunday. Ground staff were working on it right up until kickoff. The surface didn't seem to bother City early on. Riyad Mahrez giving them the lead just 6 minutes in. Mahrez devoted his goal to Leicester's late owner Vishal Srivadhanaprabha, who died in a helicopter crash on Saturday. Tottenham could have levelled late on, but Eric Lamela did this. Tottenham stay fifth. So the former Leicester star Mahrez proved to be the winner. Afterwards, he paid tribute to Srivadhanaprabha and the impact he had on him and his former club.
Yeah, it was like a dad for us, He was very, very special. Believe me, he was such a good person, very big heart, and it was heartbroken and shocking for me to have this news.
When did you decide that you wanted to play tonight?
No, I always wanted to play because I know he would not want me to play. I was very passionate about football, and it was difficult, but I kept thinking about him. It was difficult to sleep as well, after that. But it's part of the life, but it's difficult,
Real Madrid have sacked coach Julen Lopetegui after just 4.5 months in charge. Madrid are 9th in the Spanish league and were beaten by biggest rivals Barcelona 5-1 at the weekend. He's been provisionally replaced by B-team coach Santiago Solari. England said to Manu Tuilagi says he's happy to be back with the international squad. He could play against South Africa this Saturday in the opening autumn international. He hasn't played for England since 2016 due to a long run of injuries.
You can only get your game time, by playing. You can train as hard as you can, but you can never get that match fitness. So I feel good and just enjoying here, training with the boys, and looking forward to it.
Tennis now, and British #1 Carl Edmund will not play again this season after an MRI scan revealed fluid behind his left knee. Edmund reached the Australian Open semi-finals this year and hit a career-high world ranking of 14. He also won his first ATP title at the European Open in Antwerp last week. There's more now on Sky Sports News, and we're back a little later.
That's cheating. No one lifts me up when I'm catching the ball.
Let's have a look at the weather now.
From warm, flowing island winds to an enchanting desert breeze,
The extreme east will be wet and windy for a time, while showery rain will spread across Ireland later. There'll be a chilly start with a frost likely of Western Britain, Northern Ireland and the east of Ireland. Coastal rain for southeast England and the west of Ireland, and a scattering of showers elsewhere. Southeast England will have a cloudy and windy morning with prolonged rain near the Kentish and East Anglian coasts and a few showers elsewhere. Most other places will have sunny spells, but there will be showers around, mainly in the north. The west of Ireland will see more general showery rain moving in, and it is going to stay rather chilly.
The weather, sponsored by Qatar Airways.
Coming up on Sky News, we're going to take another look at the morning's papers in our press preview.
Every day a frizzy hair battle. Meet Cocoa Sleek 3-in-1 Hair Oil. Your new BBF. Best blend forever. By Garnier Ultimate Blends. Our vegan formula with coconut oil and smooth cocoa butter. Apply our sleek savior and feel up to 72 hours of sleeker, smoother fairy tale hair. Meet Ultimate Blends Cocoa Sleek by Garnier. Naturally.
Nice to keep things you normally lose. But unlike anyone else, Sky Mobile rolls over all your unused data for up to 3 years. So it's there when you need it most. Sky Mobile. Hello, possible.
You know, I shouldn't even be here. Years ago, a case of mistaken identity on a work trip abroad saw me locked up for a crime I did not commit.
Amazing. I really shouldn't be here either. But when a luxury break has 60% off, how could I say no?
At all protected.
Look around. With artificial intelligence, we are not crawling or walking. We are flying. Microsoft AI helps an architect bring history back to life. This is now. AI helps farmers grow more food with less resources. An engineer explores how AI can help the deaf see sound. Innovation creates tomorrow, and tomorrow is here today.
At studio.co.uk, there's a huge choice of Christmas presents that can be personalised for free. From wooden puzzles to their first play kitchen. And amazing value gifts, like these personalised pencil sets. Kids' PJs that can be personalised for free. We can even personalise their Christmas stockings. Get Christmas wrapped up early. Shop today at studio.co.uk.
From the heart is spontaneous. Stay 3 nights for the price of 2. 100% from the heart. Book now at ibis.com. Yes, she thought, laying down her brush in extreme fatigue. I have had my vision.
Temperatures across the globe are rising. Boris Johnson claims the forest.
Terry, and the Brexit could be the end of the world.
As we know it.
What a pile of absolute... Boris, he's been urged to explain his blunder in Barnsley. He's done enough damage speaking English.
Who is Vladimir Putin?
They are meant to be dealing with Brexit.
Brand new, the Russell Howard Hour. Starts Thursday, the 8th of November on Sky One.
You're watching Sky News. Our top stories this morning. Hardening the border against migrants. Donald Trump's decision to send thousands of troops south. Bringing the wreckage back to shore, investigators look into what caused a plane to crash shortly after takeoff from Jakarta. Fans and players have paid tribute to the billionaire owner of Leicester City who died in a helicopter crash over the weekend. Now, dogs are known to have an excellent sense of smell, and researchers have identified another area where their noses can be put to good use. Man's best friend, as they're known, can also sense if someone has malaria well before they start showing signs of infection. Sky's Alorna Sharrock reports.
Freya might look like a family pet, but she could also be a lifesaver. She's one of 3 dogs specially trained to sniff out the lethal mosquito-borne disease, malaria. Freya's nose led her to one of these brown socks, used in a study of over 100 children with and without malaria.
Mosquitoes, just like these ones, are responsible for carrying the malaria parasite and infecting children across the world, including some of those involved in this study in the Gambia. They were given nylon socks, a little bit like these, to wear. The material was then split from top to toe and given to medical detection dogs here in the UK to see whether they could sniff out the odour of malaria.
The success rate was clear. The dogs sniffed 175 samples and managed to correctly identify 70% of the socks worn by malaria-positive children and 90% of the samples without malaria parasites.
When you are malaria positive and you actually have that infection, what the parasite does is it changes your body odour. So your body odour is the way that the mosquito is able to detect you and is able to find you as a blood source.
Although this research is still in its early stages, scientists hope eventually these trained super smellers could help spot infected people at ports and airports and help stop malaria spreading.
It's finding a new way to identify people who may not feel sick but are carrying malaria in their systems and could therefore pass it to other people through the bite of a mosquito. So for countries that have eliminated, it's a really interesting potential new way that they could protect their borders and keep their countries malaria free.
The race is now on for the next step, seeing if canine companions can sniff out malaria not just on socks but directly in humans themselves. If so, you could be seeing more paw patrols with their noses a-quiver on your travels in future. Lorna Shattuck, Sky News.
Okay, some of the day's other news now, and a 6.2 magnitude earthquake has hit New Zealand's North Island. There were no immediate reports of a tsunami warning, damage or casualties. From that quake, it hit 39 miles east of the city of New Plymouth at a depth of 142 miles. Tens of thousands of people in Mexico have celebrated the Day of the Dead with a parade in Mexico City. Dia de los Muertos is one of the most deep-rooted traditions in Mexico. It's celebrated every year across the country. Here's Anna now with another look at the papers.
Well, hello there, you're watching the press preview, a first look at what is on the front pages. In the next half hour then, we'll see what's making the headlines with the former Labour Special Advisor and columnist Aisha Hazarika and the political editor of The Sun, Tom Newton-Dunn. I added former. It is former, isn't it?
Yeah,
it is former. I was thinking it probably was. Yeah, it is. To the front pages then, budget, of course, featuring across all of them. Financial Times calls it a giveaway that was clouded by what might happen if there's no deal agreed with the EU when it's time for Britain to leave. The Times too claims the Chancellor has delivered what it calls a giveaway gamble. The Metro adopts a Halloween theme with the headline Tricks and Treats. Something very similar on the front page of The Sun, no tricks, just treats. Guardian says the Chancellor has done his job, cut taxes and shored up the position of his embattled Prime Minister. The Telegraph reports that Mr Hammond has handed the taxpayer a Brexit bonus by bringing forward tax cuts to end austerity. The Eye says the Chancellor has finally eased up on 8 years of financial squeeze, while the Express says 32 million people will benefit from today's tax cuts, while the Daily Mail sums it all up with the words, feel-good factor. Budget specials writ large, one of them of course written by the political editor of The Sun, who was you found it hard to get it all in. Such time the budget was a little bit late for newspapers.
It was. So normally the budget statement it begins at 12:30, which gives us it finishes about 1:30, which gives us a good 5-6 hours to crunch what is a mammoth series of figures and get it all in the paper. Today, Philip Hammond, because the Speaker wouldn't change proceedings of Parliament on a Monday, because budget's normally on a Wednesday, he had to sit through Home Office questions for an entire hour before the Chancellor could stand up at 3:30 and deliver his budget. It was a very long, lasted 72 minutes. It was 8,800 words. I counted every single one of them via word count rather than individually going through.
No wonder you didn't listen to that.
Really a serious dialogue I've done that. Anyway, it was a very long experience, and by the time we finally had all this information in our hands, it was 4:45. So, tribute, if I may pay some fleetingly to the nation's newspapers for rolling out pages on pages of budget coverage.
2 to 17 here in this
2 to 17 in the Mail in almost zero time sake. That said, it was also an extraordinary budget, the likes of which I've never covered before in 10 years being down in Westminster, simply because it was so extraordinarily out of character. Philip Hammond, we're trying to go back today to try and work out when there was a budget that gave away £103 billion. In other words, he's giving the public more than he's raising, 103 billion. He's able to do this because growth is a tiny bit better, tax revenues are better increased, and there can be a more sympathetic way to him. But he is, instead of being fiscal Phil, spreadsheet Phil, the man who prides himself on being tight with the nation's finances, he is doing a double Gordon Brown. Every single penny that's coming, he's wafting straight out on a myriad of different popular causes, from putting more money back into universal credit, to income tax cuts, to more money on defence, to an awful lot more money on the NHS. Everything you can think of there, he is doing. It's almost like he's worried about his own job. It's almost like he's trying to buy himself another year or so in number 11.
Well, that's the point, isn't it? The question is why? Why give so much away? And one of the bits of the Telegraph, the FT rather, says the Conservatives cannot outbid Labour, but they can blunt its offer. Up the top there. Is this partly about being a minority government?
Well, I don't think it's just about being a minority government. It's about how they stay relevant as a government. At Tory party conference, one of the very, very striking things was that other than huge sort of debates about Brexit, the big conversation that was being had in every single fringe meeting was, listen, how can the Conservative Party appeal to Britain again and offer them something beyond Brexit? Every fringe discussion was, hang on, Labour's offering to spend this on this, it's making a great big shiny offer to the public. We've got to do something about that. Theresa May's conference speech at Tory party conference was very, very instructive, because she just declared that austerity was over. This budget had to deliver on her conference speech. Now, the language is very interesting. She said austerity was over. He said austerity is going to be coming to an end at some point in the future. So Tom is right. The thing that was unusual about it was to spend so much money. There's definitely been a significant easing of austerity. Whether you could argue that austerity is completely over, I'm not sure. And also, I think in a way, that the budget coming later has benefited tonight's papers, because you have less time to do your analysis. And the thing to watch out for the budget...
3 hours less to find the tricks.
So what often happens in a budget is the initial headlines are very positive, then you find the googlies, the things that sort of unravel. We have the pasty tax, and we've had various things. My personal reading, I think the thing that is going to come under a lot of scrutiny is who was the big winners out of this budget. And they were actually the top 10 richest households in the country. These tax cuts that were given away, they were given away
to the
people at the bottom,
50,000
but people at the top as well. And in fact, in Tom's newspaper, there's a very good table which shows you who are the winners and who are the losers. And even you look at that table, how much better off will you be? Well, if you're on £80,000, you're much better off than somebody who is far further down the pay ladder at £12,500. So I just question that.
That's the blunt nature of taxation.
Sure, but I do think that if you remember, Theresa May said on the steps of Downing Street, I want to sort of tackle the burning injustices. It's very hard to argue how if you're on £80,000, it's a burning injustice that you don't get a massive tax cut. And the other thing, just to be aware, and I don't want to take the shine off everything and be all kind of grumpy,